The following is a production of Create at Morgan Studios. Welcome to Screenlight. My name is Aaron.
I'm Phil.
I'm Vicki.
And I'm Zoe.
And so today we'll tell you why the movie that we're watching is not the movie that we thought we were going to be watching. But first, what is our favorite monster movie monster, creature, etc.?
Yeah.
Okay,
Wow,
There.
and it got silent.
Well, he didn't point to nobody, so I think we're all just waiting. I'll go first.
Okay.
Godzilla.
Yeah.
I wondered.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an easy one, though. Not really a deep cut, but, you know.
I think this is his 90th or 80th anniversary this year.
Something like that.
Toho put out on their YouTube channel, they put out a promo reel for celebrating King Godzilla's, like, his how far he's come through both the good stuff and the campy stuff and everything else. And it's an extraordinary filmography that Godzilla, I keep saying King Kong, but Godzilla has created. He is truly a movie monster.
Yeah.
He is the king of the monsters, as his title portends.
Yeah, he is.
He
Very
is
true.
All right, anybody else?
I don't know if this counts, so I'm going to go for it.
Okay.
Jurassic Park. Does that count? I don't know if it counts because
I mean, they're monster-ish. They're dinosaurs.
if it doesn't count, I'm going to go with Warm Bodies.
Okay. Why?
Because there's so many zombie movies. It's a whole genre, which actually we can get into this. It can be argued that this Dracula movie we're about to do was the originator for the zombie.
That's fair. Okay.
In a way.
Well, they
but
refer
Warm
to-
Bodies, but I like this one because they're of the redemption story.
Yeah.
The idea that love makes them change.
Yeah.
And I don't know, they can move fast, and the way they change is terrifying, and I don't know, I can't look away.
Okay.
I love that movie. And it's got a great soundtrack
There you go.
with loose interpretation with Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah. All right, Zoe, what do you think?
This is hard. Because mine would lean more into, like, serial killers,
Okay.
monsters.
Okay.
Of course, my favorite is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre guy, or the real guy is Ed Gein. But, which I'm really excited because they're making a monsters documentary series, kind of like the Dahmer Mendez
okay.
brothers, but they're going to do Ed Gein is next. He's my favorite, so I'm really excited for that, actually.
Well, if we're going to talk about monsters that aren't really monsters, I'm going to say the Puppet Master series.
Okay.
Because this is wild.
Vicky looks so cute.
I'm sorry, but I think Puppet Masters, I think like the Muppets.
No.
I'm like, how dark is
No.
this going?
This is so
These
far
are
from
like-
the Muppets that it is.
These are like possessed
Okay.
killer puppets.
Okay, so Five Nights at Freddy's puppet version.
I guess
basically
so.
if Kermit got a hold of the Book of the Dead.
Oh no, not Kermit.
Is this like from Hellraiser?
No.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
No. Which the Cenobites from those? I love those too.
Because that's what I thought of
No,
them.
they're like little puppets. Like one of them has a hook on his hand. Another one they call him Drill Sergeant. He's got a drill on his head.
Oh my gosh.
They're like I don't know. I just love things where like Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, the Cenobites from Hellraiser. Like it's like a group of things that a group of characters that have their own like personalities and quirks to them. I like that.
Fair.
What's your monster movie?
Well, we were talking about earlier, The Mummy.
The Mummy.
With Brendan Fraser.
Classic.
The original is just. There is. Have we done it for this podcast?
Nope.
We should probably do
We
that.
don't.
The
Totally
Brendan
should.
Fraser one?
Yeah.
No, we have not.
Those Beatles are creepy.
So here's the thing I love about this movie. So The Mummy is
Scarred for life.
the movie is the Mummy is a movie is a capsule is basically a time capsule of because it came out in the late 90s.
You're a history guy as well.
Yeah, and so it's one of those movies where it's like, so we talked earlier about how recently in the last 5 years, Universal has tried to reboot their monster movies, and so it's not spoiler alert. We're talking about Dracula today. The reason we're
Yay.
talking about Dracula today is because Disney, or whoever's in charge of the digital rights on this thing.
Give it back.
Yeah.
It's been 50. It's the 50-year anniversary. Give it back.
Yeah.
So don't give it back the day of Halloween because that'll just make me mad.
Right. And you know that's what they'll do.
Probably.
So
Yes.
we went looking. So we talked about last week on the podcast. Oh, we're gonna do Young Frankenstein. So we waited until last night, Friday night. We're like, oh hey, we have some time.
Saturday
Where
night.
things are happening. Let's go watch it. So we start looking. Go to Amazon. Not available in your country or your area. Not available in your area.
Weird.
We start looking on the Googles. Where is this available? We get a hint that it's available on HBO Max, the new Max platform. So I go, okay, cool. I subscribe to it. I go looking for it.
5 minutes later.
Not there. So then we use the Just Watch website, which is justwatch.com or whatever, and that's where you can find out where everything is streaming. It's like a centralized hub. It's like IMDb, but for streaming.
Lord.
Not available anywhere.
That was scary.
That was scary.
It was just the surge protector. So not available anywhere. So this movie is unavailable on any streaming platform from one end of the world to the other, and it is an absolute frustration.
We just need to get it on DVD so
Which
this
should sound familiar to the
Right.
regular listeners of this podcast.
Right, because this is the thing about streaming media, is why people in the last couple of years, I want to say the last 2-3 years, maybe 5 years, people have been cutting the cord with streaming services because they're getting tired of it. They're getting tired of, oh hey, I paid for this and I want to keep watching this movie, or this is why. Like I keep my Netflix arrangement because you've got Friends on repeat, and I can go just watch it and have it in the background. You have The Office. Yep. Well, NBC went and clawed it all back, I think, and put it on their own streaming platform.
Not okay.
And you have, and not only that, so Star Trek got pulled because Paramount Plus has all of it. So you can only watch your Star Trek, I think. There might be some on Netflix, but your central source for all things Star Trek is on Paramount Plus. And so there's been talk of they're going to pull the movies and whatever. It is an absolute frustration, and there's nothing we can do except for not give them our money.
Or buy physical copies.
Buy physical copies, which is a conversation we were having tonight about.
We broached it before. We're going to broach it again and emphasize.
Well, it's like you guys.
Let us know in the comments where you can buy Young Frankenstein.
Yeah, because it's not anywhere.
Well, you can get it on you can order it on DVD through Amazon.
Yeah. Okay,
You just
okay.
can't stream it.
Yeah.
Because that's my next
lame.
plan. Right?
Well, it's like you guys literally paid for HBO Max just to see the movie, and it wasn't on
Yeah,
there.
and I was like,
Refund.
yeah. I mean, there's some
You
good
can
shows.
cancel it. They ain't going to refund you
Yeah,
nothing.
they got my $16. So it's one of those things where I'm old enough to remember when it was called cord cutting because people were getting out of cable because they were tired of paying for money for channels they never had.
Is that like the rabbit ear kind of like
No,
vibe
No,
of like
that's-
trying to like?
no, this was post rabbit ears. So
Okay.
the rabbit ears is when you're trying to find your channel.
Yeah.
Right? Cable is when you had your actual cable channels and people were just like, okay, we're cutting the cable cord, we're gonna go streaming. And so then what's happened is it's gone back into the world of now they're taking control of our media again, and it's just like
Why can't we have like one streaming platform that
Yeah.
has all the things on it?
Yeah, that would require all of Hollywood to get along, and we know that.
And then
doesn't
we
work.
pay one flat fee, whatever.
Do you know what that sounds like?
$300.
That's what we used to do with cable.
I know.
We used to do that, but
I'm
here's,
ordering it right now. I'll share it when it comes.
Okay.
but here's the thing
It's happening.
with cable, it was you had to buy all these channels. Right. So you had 300 channels, and you want I just want this and this and that. And they're like, no, you can't. You have to have 300 channels for $200 a month, but you get this special deal. We'll lock it in. And then
And if you think about it, cable also had on demand,
yep, it did.
which was like early streaming.
Yep, early streaming because you could go and click it and pay for it and all that kind of stuff. So all of this to say is, in the back in the day, it was just as bad as it is now. It's just
Just give us Young Frankenstein.
right.
For listeners, don't despair. I have just ordered a physical copy,
So
special edition.
We
Go watch it.
might do a live watch along where we all sit together and we watch it and give our commentary live as we go.
I'm down.
That would be
Absolutely.
that would be the new evolution for our podcast.
Would we video that, or do you think
We would.
just-
I don't know what we'd do. We'd figure something out. We also have to be careful because we can't obviously stream the movie on our podcast and all that kind
Oh
of stuff.
yeah, we gotta be careful with that kind of thing for
Yep.
sure.
Anyway, so that's why we're watching Dracula from 1931 today.
I'm excited about. I love Dracula as just like a fictional character.
So I did find Young Frankenstein on YouTube, like speaking to
Yeah.
what you were kind of saying, on YouTube, like the full movie, but it was like in Italian.
And like part of the screen was chopped off.
And it was like very zoomed in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I was like, we could try it, I guess.
well. And what's interesting, so to take a small little detour, and this may be where Phil can also kind of speak to it. There is a significance. They talk about, okay, well, if I'm going to be held hostage by pirates, by them, I'm going to go on the high seas. And what they're talking about is Pirate Bay and other pirated software where you can get downloads illegally, quote unquote. Actually, no, not quote unquote. It's an illegal download. But people have been talking about Crunchyroll, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Crunchyroll actually got bought out by somebody, and so like. Altogether, Crunchyroll and a bunch of other anime companies got put together on one subscribing, and it was like the price for the subscription jumped to like $300 or some stupid price.
What?
And people were in the comment section of the article I was reading, and they're just like, "This is insane! Like, this is we only paid like $100 or something like that before. Like, we really enjoyed it. It was really helpful. I was able to access my anime. I had all it worked out. But then they got greedy." And then they cut us all off, and people were like, "We're going to the pirate seas." Like, and let's be clear, I am in no way endorsing, supporting, suggesting any of that.
I just love how you say we're going to the pirate seas.
When you have a product that you take away, like in media, music, games, movies, that product no longer becomes available.
Yeah.
And like the person who created it, who owns it, there's no way that they're making money on it anymore.
Yeah.
And people, that's what they're going to find a way to access it somehow. And that's what you end up with.
Right.
So,
And then you wonder
Nintendo.
why. Yeah.
I'm not Nintendo. Why are you looking at me?
I'm just saying Nintendo's really bad about it. Like they will copyright strike people who play certain of their games on emulators.
Yeah.
But they're not selling the game anywhere. They're not making money off of it.
Right.
Like
they're holding it for whatever purpose because they have control of it. And so that's kind of the closing argument on this opener. Is like it's 2024 and people can get stuff in ways that are not legal. And that's the thing. It's not like a 1999, 2000 where bandwidth was limited and all this kind of stuff. We have high-speed fiber optic networks. And people are creating stuff that you can get. And so...
And why would you hoard such a classic movie?
Right.
Yeah.
That everyone loves.
Disney.
Yeah. And why does Disney own it? I don't understand
allegedly.
that.
It's allegedly a Disney issue. I want to be very
They
clear.
actually bought it from Mel Brooks.
I don't know.
I think it's Mel Brooks.
Well,
Boy,
so
right?
Here's how licensing sometimes works: is that whoever produced it originally, that licensing gets passed down. So if Disney bought out the production company or bought out this whatever, that's what happens. They become the owners of the license. And sometimes Studio Ghibli was the whole issue with The Grave of the Fireflies. It was a licensing issue based upon who owned part of it or however whatever. And so.
And now it's on Netflix.
And now it's finally coming back. It came in September, right?
Yep.
So it's actually
you can
live.
actually go watch it now.
You can go watch Grave of the Fireflies. So if you're listening to this podcast, you know that.
Surely after we
But we own it now, so.
We own a physical copy. Take that, Netflix.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's bonkers. So to close out this thing, I was going to actually mention. So Vicki mentioned, what movie did you mention? Oh, your monster movie was
Warm Bodies.
Warm Bodies. So I actually teach Warm Bodies as a part of my language arts.
I like to think I influenced this
A little bit.
because I read the book and I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's like Romeo and Juliet. This is amazing."
Yeah, and I knew of it before. What's interesting is that so I through Patreon I support the author Isaac Marion, and we actually taught as a group of us. There's a whole bunch of on his Discord, and I've chatted with him a couple times, and I told him, yeah, I do this, and he's a really cool dude.
That's cool.
His story is fascinating. I actually made mention of it one time in a live stream he was doing. I was like, his voice is like so podcast ready. I was like, I'm gonna get you on my podcast somehow. I don't know how it's gonna happen, but I'm gonna figure it out because he's a cool dude. His story is fascinating. He wrote 4 books. It's a whole series. And his story is that he had a Hollywood movie, he had a best-selling novel, but things didn't turn out the way that he had hoped or expected them, and so he kind of just went off the grid. He lives in a nice little shed that he's built on his own, and hopes to build a house on that property someday. And his story is incredible because it's a story of creating an incredible character, an incredible story, which then spanned into 4 books. But then that dream didn't didn't turn out the way he expected, and so he's been doing a lot of other projects, and he's still finding ways to support himself and to write stuff and to create stuff. He's got a new book he's working on called The Overnoise. He sent it off to the editor like twice now, and so he's getting it. It's looking good. So anyway, to say that book, I love the original. Warm Bodies is one of my favorites. The book is fantastic. The movie's pretty cool.
The book really gets into the Romeo and Juliet stuff.
Yeah, and there's a lot.
really see
the
it.
character's a lot deeper. What's interesting is the character who plays R in Romeo and Juliet stars in a movie called Renfield with Nicolas Cage, and Renfield is the character that we know and love who becomes
Yes.
Dracula's servant in this movie. Yeah. So I need to watch Renfield because it's the guy who acted as R in Warm Bodies. So there's your small world connection. A shout out to Isaac Marion and your awesomeness. We continue.
Thank you for your books.
Yes, thank you for your books. Thank you for creating an indelible character that we will never forget.
Yeah.
All right, on that note, we'll be right back after this because we'll dig into 1931's Dracula.
Get nerdy with me. Talk nerdy to me. Get nerdy with me. All I really need for you to do is just please
I get stoked.
talk to me. Talk nerdy to me.
All right, welcome back to Nerds by Screenlight. My name is Aaron.
I am Phil.
And Vicki.
And I'm Zoe.
All right, so it is Dracula, 1931, starring Bela Lugosi.
The film that kick-started the horror genre
Yep.
in Hollywood.
And it's so what was your I guess here's the question we should ask. What was your impression coming into this movie? Like what before you sat down to watch it and we said, "Oh, guess what? Swerve, we have to do Dracula instead of, Young Frankenstein." What were your preconceived notions coming in?
Well, I have seen it before.
Okay.
Okay.
And I've also seen it as a play, or done as a play, whatever. And it does have a lot of connections to Young Frankenstein, so I was already excited to watch it again.
Okay, that's cool.
So yeah.
For me, I was excited to watch it because I've never seen it, but I'm very familiar with it because I'm a huge fan of the angry video game nerd James Rolfe. He does a series every year in October called Monster Madness, and he has talked about this movie
A lot.
and his passion for this movie made me really excited, but it also gave me really high expectations.
Right.
Yeah.
It's 1931.
We'll get to the end.
Aaron kept telling me
at
that
the
too.
end what I feel about the movie.
Okay. And I have never seen this full length. I am distinctly aware of Bela Lugosi. I am aware. So for our listeners, if you're catching up or you're not fully aware, Universal, starting with this movie in 1931, Universal produced and created their own MonsterVerse. And this is not the Tom Cruise attempt that was made with Russell Crowe playing Jekyll and Hyde in that movie. This is the actual Universal MonsterVerse.
I'm not familiar with that film, and I don't think I want to.
You don't.
No,
It's not worth your time.
I won't.
Yeah, so
Tom Cruise.
back in
that's
the
so weird.
Monsters? No.
back in the day, we had like two really heavy hitting studios that were making these movies. We had Universal and Hammer.
Yeah.
And so whenever you refer to like Frankenstein or Dracula, you're usually referring to one of those.
Yep.
Either or.
Yeah. So Universal started with Dracula. Frankenstein came out the same year. Wolfman came out eventually. The Invisible
Mummy
Man,
and-
The Mummy, Dracula versus Frankenstein. It was a vibe.
Ooh, now that would be a movie. I
Yeah,
haven't seen
and
that
it
one.
was. It was.
Is that the one that we saw together last year?
No, that's a whole other one. So there is a literal deep field of these movies. So, if
So
you're-
does that mean they made the first Versus movie?
probably similar, probably in some ways, yeah.
That's great. I got to see
Interesting.
when that came out because that's wow.
So then we had, so that was, it was lucrative. They were popular movies. People loved them. They were varied in quality from well done to, and so it was,
The cinematography though, of these movies is amazing.
Aaron was
Yeah.
talking about that while we
Like-
were watching.
yeah. They definitely knew what they were doing.
That took a lot of work for a black and white movie.
Yeah.
I'm-
There's a lot of work that went into this movie. And really good actors, like solid acting, all the things considered. Again, we're talking about 1931.
Yeah.
Like we're talking really strong actors and really strong people who engaged and made this movie. So Bela Lugosi is our Count Dracula. Funny story, and Vicki has most of our trivia. But the Bela Lugosi trivia that I have is that he only played the character of Count Dracula twice.
Yes.
Once in this movie, and then in Dracula Frank. It's the Abbott and Costello versus the Frankenstein, Dracula. I think Wolfman's in there somewhere too.
Yeah, it's funny. That's worth watching.
Yeah.
But he was in the stage play version that this is based on before that.
Yeah.
And even before that, he was entering into negotiations with the widow of the author of Dracula to get rights.
Yeah.
So they could. It was
And
about 2 months of negotiating.
He talked her down from $200,000 to $60,000.
And it ended up, actually, I was looking at more trivia, it ended up selling for $40,000.
Yeah.
So that's
He
really significant.
And so that's why the producers were like, "Hey, we probably should bring on Bela Lugosi. He's really done a good job." for us."
Passionate about Dracula.
I have a very interesting thing about Bela Lugosi.
Yeah.
He was buried in the Cape.
I read that too.
And it was not his choice. It was his wife's and his son's ex-wife decision to do that. Which, yeah,
I had to look it up because I was like, was it Lugosi or Karloff? And I was like, no,
it
was Lugosi.
It was Lugosi. The thing about Lugosi, his story is really sad because he made an incredible amount of movies, but later in life he kind of fell out of favor, and ended up kind of having to scramble for money, and filmed some roles for Plan 9 from Outer Space, which is a cult classic. But I think he died before it was released, and he was not doing well. He unfortunately became addicted to like OxyContin-ish. Like that wasn't OxyContin, but morphine and other things because of the injury that occurred. And so he ended up kind of falling down that hole. And so he was an incredible actor. The man had presence. The man had poise. He
really worked into getting in his character. Like I was reading some behind the scenes, like he would pace the set in his cape and say over and over to himself, "I am Dracula," just to help like be in character. And not everybody on the set apparently took this seriously, but he did.
Yeah,
all the time.
Well, he had come from a stage background before he came to the United States,
and you could tell.
Yeah, you
could
definitely
tell.
can tell.
He was very active. So when he got
something I like about the old movies is you could tell like their stage acting.
Yeah, he took it very seriously.
I mean, he didn't talk very much, and he still got his point across.
Yeah.
Well, we can
look into my eyes.
We can talk about like how the intro is like the title cards is instead of cast, it literally says the players.
Yep.
Oh.
And it's here's your staff, and here you go.
And it stays on that screen for like a good 15 seconds.
And there's Swan Lake playing in the background. I'm like,
I loved it. It was
okay.
It's the only
okay.
bit of music you get through the whole movie.
What's interesting, so we again, between me and Vicki, we tag team some facts and figures.
Yep.
The reason why they didn't include music or a score here is because this was in the beginnings of the talkies. Like this was where talkies were beginning to really get a hold, and they were good. And their worry is that with the talkies and how they were becoming, they were like, well, if we put music in there, it's going to interfere with the spoken dialogue because we obviously didn't have the technology later to balance it out and whatever, so it would have gotten in the way. And so they decided instead they were just going to go straight without sound. And you were making the point earlier, like that makes it even more scary.
Yeah.
Because you don't
silence.
You're waiting for some musical cues, and it's not giving you anything.
Well, and I read it was also because they were afraid the audience would just kind of be like, "Why is there music in this? I don't see any instruments. Why is there music in this scene?" Like it would make sense to them, which kind of makes sense if you think about from the perspective of them being used to seeing either silent films or plays.
Yeah,
true.
They wouldn't have had actual soundtrack music associated with it. So we meet him first. So Bela Lugosi makes his appearance first in the scenes. So the Swan Lake music opens, and we get Bela Lugosi's name, and then there's a matte painting where, yes,
I literally wrote fake background, but it looks nice.
Yeah,
it was painted on glass behind the camera.
It looked cool.
So they filmed the horse carriage going, and then that matte painting was placed in front of the camera, so then you would have that illusion of that happening.
But you could definitely tell it's a painting for sure.
Obviously, definitely. It's 1931. What do you expect? You're not getting good. You're not going to get good green screen out of that.
Plus, it's the Great Depression.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair.
They originally wanted like a big budget kind of thing.
Yeah.
That was the original plan. They wanted to do it based on the novel. but then the stock market crashed.
Yep, and they lost some money there, so they went with the stage show instead, which works, I guess.
Yeah.
It does. It's a good movie. What I love about the carriages in this movie is none of them are comfortable. No. They're just like,
Right.
and they bounce around, and it's just
Right.
like, oh my gosh.
I have a trivia fact, and I want you to decide if this is cool or like, you're kind of stretching this to make it sound cool, but it's too much. So let me read it for you. So there's a teen girl who's a coach passenger. She claims, rightfully so, she was the first woman in talking pictures to have the first line of dialogue in a horror film.
Yeah, it's accurate.
But do you think it's cool or like, you're really like pushing the line to make it sound cooler than it is?
Everybody looked at me.
I
think you're pushing it a little bit because
Yeah.
isn't this technically like the first horror film anyways?
Yeah, it was the first. This began.
So that's a lot of firsts.
This is the
yeah.
first
Yeah.
movie labeled as a horror film.
Like at first I read it cool, and then as I was writing it out, I was like, wait.
Yeah, it's a little bit much.
This is like a first for everybody,
Right.
like, you know?
Yeah, literally.
A lot of firsts.
Yeah. So when I read that, I was like, okay. I mean, you get that in your autobiography when you eventually,
Yeah.
die, which
And
I think.
she was the last surviving cast member.
Oh wow!
Because
now
that's
that's
1931.
cool.
That's actually.
Yeah,
She held on to the last.
I think
moment.
that's kind of cool.
I was the first, and I'm gonna be the last. Damn you! She held on. So then we get So here's the thing. When we meet Renfield,
He's an idiot.
he's an idiot.
He's a total idiot.
But he's
But
like
wait,
my
he-
favorite character.
Doe-eyed. I don't see any problem. You need to get your eyes checked.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, they do get bigger.
I love his transformation though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I love about it because I haven't seen this movie, so I was like, who is this idiot? Like he's a fool, like moron. What are you doing?
He has
Everyone's
business. with-
everyone's like telling him don't go.
Right.
Some random lady gives him a crucifix.
Right.
And
People inside are apparently they're praying and they're doing the Lord's Prayer in Hungarian.
Right. Everyone is gnashing their teeth.
Don't
and,
do this.
Like when he leaves, the town is like crying for him.
Yeah.
For some,
Oh,
They don't
so
even
sweet.
know him.
So
this guy?
sweet.
like he clearly is not like you said. They're praying in Hungarian.
Right.
Yeah.
He is not that.
Right.
Like,
He's an
why do
American.
these people
actually
It's
care?
not like it's like it's a foreigner. Let's sacrifice him to Dracula.
He's
Spare us.
so he's English because they take him. They end up in England.
I love how he tells the town that he's exactly what he's going to go do.
Yeah.
I got a meeting with Count Dracula
Right.
at his house.
Right.
At midnight.
Then
they're
he
like,
then he gets to Dracula and Dracula asks him, he's like, "No, you didn't tell anyone anything, right?"
and he lies.
And he just straight
he
up
lies very
lies.
well, actually.
Like he lies so well. I thought it was a plot hole. Like, did you
Right.
guys forget that he just
yeah.
Can we talk about the fact that when the carriage dropped him off, he just literally like tosses the
Yes,
luggage
and he's like, bye. I think I wrote that.
Yeah.
I
We
did.
laughed.
I was like, and bye.
He's like, smart man,
Good
don't
luck.
stick around. You know who's driving that carriage.
Dracula's carriage is I really did enjoy that.
Yeah.
The coach guy, what would you call him?
So here's the thing. That's Bela Lugosi.
Is it?
Yep.
It looks way different
Yep. It's Bela Lugosi. Now, in some frames you can't, like, I guess
You
you
see
can't
his
see
eyes.
it, but in some parts of the movie, like I guess where they edited or whatever framing, it's Bela Lugosi in that role.
Well, he's not there very long.
No,
though.
he's not. Yeah, you
Because
don't.
He turns into a bat.
Yeah, he. So our guy Renfield looks out the coach and he's like, "There's just a bat leading the horses."
Right.
And the driver's gone.
Right.
Oh, but doesn't he make a comment about how bumpy it is? And then he's like, oh, never mind. Like,
Yeah. Like he goes to yell at the driver and
Yeah.
there is no driver.
Right. He's just like, okay, never mind, I guess. And then his luggage is gone.
It's
We
gone.
don't know where that is.
which he freaks out about for a long time.
well,
I feel
so
like.
in his luggage, so we find out obviously.
I would
that-
freak out if my luggage disappeared.
just
Like,
like-
I have important things in there.
Well, so what he's bringing is bringing legal documents for
True.
Dracula to take ownership of this hall, and that's the only reason why Renfield is there. And part of his backstory is that the reason why people like there's a plot hole. People may be like, oh well, Renfield's missing. No one misses him. Well, it's explained through like the script or whatever that was never mentioned. That Renfield owned his own real estate business. He was the sole employee. He didn't have anybody else working for him. And so that's why nobody really cared that he was gone. They just, was like, oh, the business is closed. So they could come back
it's
eventually.
this big city, you know.
Yeah. So
This is a beautiful set too.
Yes.
Well, it's like when they're walking up to it, it's disgusting and dingy and
Right.
dark, and
yeah.
they go inside of Dracula's place, and he's like, "I think this is more to your liking." Yeah.
Right. It's got a nice bed. He's got the
They used
Massive.
those sets in future movies for over a decade.
I'm sure
after.
it's. I mean,
Yeah.
it was massive.
Yeah.
And why would you tear it down?
Right. Well, and so the reason we talk about Renfield being panicked about his stuff is those documents are legal documents. And if he's lost them, he's in trouble because now he can't give them to, because that was his only reason for being there, is to give those documents to Dracula so he could sign it over and then take it back and give him the ownership of that hall. So, yeah,
Not smart.
yeah. So there's an interesting mention. They talk about Nosferatu
Yep.
and so there is
Did the movie come out before this?
yes, it was a
So that may have been like the first horror.
correct.
movie.
It was a silent, and I've watched bits of it. I haven't watched the whole thing, but that's the original Dracula
Yep.
kind of legend. There's actually a recent movie called Nosferatu, where I think it's available on Amazon Prime, and it's like a true horror like movie. There's also Dracula, like where Dracula's on a ship, and there's a whole bunch of new Dracula lore that's coming out movie wise. That's very interesting. The makeup in this movie, it's again because it's 2024 and we're getting probably higher definition than they did. The makeup is caked in a lot of this.
Oh, yeah.
especially our guys. They're very much caked.
But
So
you should
we
know
get-
that Bella did not wear a hairpiece.
No, he did not.
So that's
We get a lot of in this scene and throughout the rest of the movie, just close-ups of Dracula's face
Yes.
with the lights just on his eyes.
Yep.
I have a opinion about that.
Oh.
and I have a fact when you're done with your opinion. You first.
But I'm
You first.
I'm sure people will appreciate your fact more than my opinion.
I don't know. It's time for facts with Phil.
Yeah. Facts with Phil. These scenes are cringy as all get out.
Oh, they're my
I'm
favorites.
so sorry.
I was
Like-
laughing a bit.
'Cause like he's, I wish we had video.
Right.
But like his eyeballs and his what are they called?
Eyebrows?
Eyebrows. Like he's just like, like
Right.
I'm gonna get you, but like he
Right.
doesn't say anything, and it's like,
Yeah.
he's like, picture someone trying to like talk to your brain without using words. Like so they're just trying to
Very into your soul.
telepathically
Yeah.
communicate with you, and they're just staring at you.
Yeah.
It's
Like-
creepy, though.
Yeah, it's cringy too. Like,
But he's also
like,
beautiful.
It's like a Jedi.
I think.
It's
I
like
know
a
that.
And I'm from
Jedi, but his
Manlick.
force field doesn't work.
Right.
Right.
Sorry, I know it's a big part of this movie.
A lot
big
of it.
part of his role. One of the most iconic things of this movie. I did not enjoy it. Maybe once or twice,
It's
Right.
a classic thing.
but like he does it so much. And then later on, when he extends his hand, trying to mind control that person, or mind control Van Helsing, and like,
Now
that's-
that was kind of funny when he steps
oh
back.
man, that hurt me. I was like, oh god, these are not the droids you're looking for.
Your will is strong.
All right. What was your fact?
All right. Well, it's two actually. Dracula never blinks. He's doing that
Right.
stare.
Yeah,
but then
that
two,
helps to the cringiness.
How do I feel about this? I kind of feel bad for Bella here. So his stare was achieved by they aimed two pencil spotlights into his eyes.
Yep.
Yeah. I thought they were flashlights just beaming onto directly on his eyeballs.
Yeah, because everything else is dark. You can just see. It's nice.
I mean, it is a cool effect.
Right.
It's so smart. Like, I don't know.
So you have to imagine.
I just think it's cool.
You have to remember that we're also at the end of the silent film era.
Yeah.
We're entering into the talkies.
Yeah.
A lot of what you see in the silent film era is a lot of that face focused and using effects and our lighting to definitely make that difference. And so with this, it's definitely like, okay, well, there's vestiges of the talkies that we still see in this movie where they're still using that stuff that people would have been familiar with. In 2024, yeah, it's awkward and cringe.
Yeah.
But at that time, that was
It's art.
it was.
Now I admit it makes me laugh. I've been teasing Aaron mercilessly for at least a year, especially around this time of year with the Dracula stare. I'll just kind of go up there and go, look into my eyes
And then I'll just go, okay.
deeper.
So,
Yeah, just like everyone else did to Bela Lugosi in this movie. They're like, what are you doing?
Yeah. So
Because I feel like we cut to him sometimes like that for no reason.
right.
Like it's just him in the room or something, and they're like he's just staring.
Honestly,
He's
I was
hungry,
that-
man.
Yeah,
Okay.
There is.
Look
Like-
into my eyes.
He's trying to get some food.
Yeah, he needs.
He's
some,
like the squirrel that attacked me. Or didn't attack me, but almost attacked me.
Allegedly.
Charged you. He charged you. You
Yes.
can say that.
the squirrel's nickname is now Dracula.
Yes.
The Count
It's
Dracula.
fitting.
Or Renfield.
Renfield.
Yeah. Oh, that would
They
be.
like the small lives.
That's true. That's true.
So yeah, okay, we'll get to that in a second. So there are armadillos in the lobby.
Okay, I have a fact.
I thought there were possums.
There's possums too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not see an armadillo.
Yep. there's
There were.
armadillos.
Now, Aaron's your theory at the time was like, well, they're probably really cheap.
Right.
Here's what I found out with the trivia. So apparently, at the time, they were occasionally seen digging in graveyards. This led to a false belief that they would dig into coffins and eat.
Ugh.
So
We'll leave it at that.
Poor armadillos get their name besmirched by the Dracula movie. It's an odd thing to see. them.
Defamation.
I
Yeah.
know. I'm like,
Yeah.
here, I see armadillos. I think Florida. Anybody else?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I think they're in California at some point. There's also
Yeah.
armadillos. I don't know.
And then there's the little is a Jerusalem cricket, which was common in Southern California.
So there you go.
Oh, the spider.
Yeah.
Spider that moves across the
Clearly a
ground.
puppet.
Clearly not a real spider. The legs don't move,
Right.
but it's moving.
Right.
The fat juicy spider.
No, that comes later.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's later.
okay.
That
They
comes
used
later.
rubber cement to make the spider webs
Rubber-
I- that's it.
Ugh.
Sprayed from a little
from
thing.
like a rotary gun.
Interesting.
Oh, how
It
did
can
that
get
not
really
stick
stingy.
to everything?
It probably did. There's a lot. So Long Chaney, I think Long Chaney Jr. or Long Chaney, one of the guys, or it might have been Bella. One of these guys in the movie, one of the movies, no, who was it? Was it Long Chaney or Long Chaney Jr.? One of them, fake snow got in their throat and caused such a serious injury that it damaged their throat and their ability to speak. Like,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
So
'cause
they-
back then they used like asbestos.
Yeah.
and other assorted. So
You told me that while you were watching White Christmas, and it was like, well, that just ruined.
yeah,
Thank you for that.
so
You ruined Christmas.
So there is that element of the reality of it is that there was probably stuff that was used that was not safe,
They didn't know.
and they didn't know. They
Because
just,
today you buy rubber cement, they're like, "Can I see your ID?"
Yeah, like
And I'm like, "Okay."
it's not even in classrooms anymore, as far as I know.
nope, not anymore.
Oh man, I
We
remember
use,
that
we
stuff.
use that
as a-
stuff
I use it
religiously.
so many projects for school. Rubber
Yeah.
cement,
Yeah.
household
Nope.
staple.
How the world has changed. So Dracula is behind him, and Renfield is walking backwards, and then Dracula speaks. And I just wrote such a naive little fool that Renfield is.
Took
And-
him that long to see him.
Yep. And that the line that is actually on the list of most famous lines of all time is "Children of the Night, what music they make."
Yeah.
And the way he says
Yeah.
it is just creepy and terrifying because the wolves are. He's like, "The children
Listen
of the
to
night,
them."
what music they make," and you're just like,
As they
yeah,
corner their prey and go
Right.
in for the kill. Lovely.
yeah. So what's funny is Dracula walks through the spider webs, doesn't impact them.
Like a ghost.
Yep.
Renfield's just like,
Yep.
what?
And then he says, and this is obviously foreshadowing. He says, spinning his web for the unwary fly." Just like
Just kind of funny because Renfield gets into flies.
right, yeah, it becomes a thing. So the eyes of Dracula, and then he pricks his finger and cuts his finger on some
Yeah.
paper.
He hated
Okay, that was like a
part.
Twilight moment.
Yeah,
You
Yeah.
know, like I was
fair.
like, did Stephanie Meyer do that on purpose? Because it is
probably
like
that's what she did. And I'm sure
She
that,
leaned into Dracula.
well, everyone
because a paper cut. It's the same thing.
there's so much mythology and so many movies with Dracula
Yeah,
about the blood and the attraction of the blood and all that stuff.
but the paper cut thing. When I saw Twilight, I was like, really, paper cut? But it happens in this film.
It does. And then Dracula with the lights on his eyes, he sees the blood. Oh, blood. Oh, I'm drinking blood.
Only reason he restrains himself is because of the cross.
Yeah, the cross that he was carrying. And yeah, yes, Phil, is it cringe? Yeah. Okay. Well, whatever.
I mean, I here's the thing. I deeply respect this movie.
Right.
I might not seem like I am right now, but
I mean,
I was
I think it's
laughing a
like the
lot.
first vampire ever.
I was laughing at parts that I know I shouldn't have been laughing at. Like
It
it
is
was
kinda
supposed
funny.
to be
I do.
scary.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm just like,
Like the
dude, you
slow
look
motion
goofy.
thing. It's like, run away, people. You have time.
You really do.
Dracula
He's
is
slower than
slow.
Michael Myers.
Yeah,
Like
he's
Slow, or
literally.
slower than molasses.
He moves slow. So then he offers him, ooh, this vine is very old.
I
And
don't
he-
drink
Wine.
wine.
Yeah.
We laughed.
I chuckled.
Why was that not a top quote? That was great.
I love it.
It was not part of the play,
Yep. So then Renfield gets knocked out because the wine knocks him out.
which I didn't get. I thought the bat bit him or something.
Nope. He just.
Yeah, that was an awkward moment. I'm like, did he just? I was making deviled eggs, so I was like, did he just fall over?
Yeah.
For no
Yeah,
reason.
he
I
did.
fainted because of the bat.
The wine. The wine.
Because the bat charged him.
Interesting.
So then the brides of Dracula are here, and they never speak
No, they don't.
in this movie.
They are actually kind of creepy
Yes.
Yeah, they are.
because they're all in white and they all
Yeah.
move real
Right.
slow. And
And he waves them off because they start to move in on him, and then he says no, and he goes and he does his thing.
Which apparently that happens in the novel where they like come for him and he waves them off. Which I just got the audiobook so that I could revisit the novel. I read it in high school and was
Yeah.
like, this is actually really good.
Yep.
As somebody who's not a horror fan, I liked it.
So then the fog machine is working overtime.
yeah, it is. At one point, you can actually see it
I looked
Oh,
over and I saw you type that.
Like-
I was
I missed
like,
that.
because like it looks like a little pipe or something,
Okay.
and you can tell that the fog is just coming out of that.
okay.
Well, 1931. What can you do?
Oh yeah, they were trying to just hide
Gosh,
everything
what was
in
that
the,
made
in
out
the
of?
dark.
Nothing good.
It was a car exhaust pipe.
Oh,
system.
that's horrible! For how long it was? Oh.
That explains why people were just falling out for no reason. Take one sip of wine and pass out. Yeah, right now.
To be abundantly clear, it wasn't the exhaust of a car. That's
People are going to be like, is it really? Hey, Google.
Phil's hyperbole statement of the day, which will continue throughout this program. No. So then they get on a ship. Now the ship scenes are not
cool.
actually a part of this movie. They are from a silent film, and that's why the crew is moving around so fast.
Interesting.
Is they stole that? Well, they didn't really steal. They just used it because they owned it.
Yes, they were filmed at different frames per second.
So,
So it makes it look jerkier and quicker
Yeah.
than normal action.
Interesting.
yeah.
That's why it looks
That's
so
cool.
weird.
It's also why there's no water in the below decks where they
Wondered.
are. And I was like, inconsistency much? Like there should be like water dripping at least.
Yeah.
Nope. But Renfield is losing his mind.
He has lost his mind.
Yeah. He's like,
Best character in the movie.
Master, we will get there on our way. And then he said, "You promised me small lives with bloods in them." I thought he was talking about children. That was my
I did too.
immediate reaction. I was like, "Oh God, no, this is bad."
Like little lives.
But what he actually means is like insects, and
Bugs.
spiders, and bugs.
Rats, actually, too.
Rats.
Yep. So the scene where the ship arrives, there's no actual actors that are coming onto the ship to investigate. The voice is actually that of the director.
Oh.
Interesting.
So the director's the one saying all these things, and then the camera's panning, and the shadow of the dead captain.
I need to mention something here.
Yeah.
When it cuts to Renfield on the boat,
Yeah.
the way that like his character changed so drastically,
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was Renfield at first.
Same with me. I was
I was like, "Who's Igor?" Like,
Yeah.
I was
No,
like,
I
"Whoa,
like,
no, that's
Aaron,
Frankenstein."
You asked me, is that Renfield? And I'm like, yeah, that's him.
Same thing. I
I've
have
seen the movie
Zoe.
before.
Like, is that Renfield?
That's
but
him. Just with
such is the transformation to your point of how good of an actor he was.
Yes.
The only problem for him is that as an actor, this role pigeonholed him.
Yep.
He got stuck in primarily these types of roles for most of his movie career because he was so good at
I
it.
mean, he rocks it.
He rocks it, but
Those
it was
crazy
like
eyes, man.
he got stuck in those roles.
Do you think, does he have that, I don't remember what it's called, but there's like a disease where your eyes actually do that, where they kind of like bulge out like that?
I don't think so.
Like the guy from Young Frankenstein, right? Doesn't he have
Oh,
that?
yeah. Igor. Not Igor. Igor.
Yeah, Dwight Fry was his name, and he lived from 1899 to 1943. So he actually he died young, unfortunately. But yeah, he was in a lot of movies, but most of them Bride of Frankenstein.
Oh, Bride of Frankenstein.
Haven't seen it.
all the Universal.
Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. He also made some other ones, Ghost of Frankenstein.
Oh, interesting.
But he also made like he didn't have a main starring role in a lot of movies. unfortunately, he was uncredited for a lot of it.
Oh, that stinks.
So his big breakout role was in 1931, but he didn't. Yeah, a lot of this is uncredited, and so unfortunately, it didn't parlay for him into a successful. Yeah, like Bride of Frankenstein, The Invisible Man, The Queen's Circus Murder, The Vampire Bat, A Strange Adventure. You know, it did not go well for him. He was actually in Frankenstein the same year, so he got that role as well. So there you go. There's some insight into the man. So the newspaper gives us the exposition dump. There is a lot of exposition dump. In this
Yeah, it
movie.
really is.
And
I wonder what you're gonna say about that.
it's-
That was
It's a lot of You're right. It's a lot of just explaining stuff.
Yep.
Especially when we get to Van Helsing.
Yes.
What is that? What is that plant you put? It's wolfsbane.
Yeah.
And let me tell you all about it.
Right.
Multiple times.
Right.
I was looking over your notes and I noticed you put Wolfsbane ?
Well, because I'm like,
Scarlet.
yeah, like why are we using wolfsbane? Isn't that for wolves? And then how he talks about how he can become a bat or a wolf.
That's
okay.
in the book.
Yeah, wolves were actually. I thought that was interesting. Wolves were actually the original.
Interesting.
And it wasn't until I think
This movie, they changed it to a bat.
to a bat.
Yeah.
So
That's
I was like, well,
crazy.
that's another interesting Twilight thing. The
Yeah.
shape shifting.
For real.
Like maybe they're actually vampires.
I think that also leads to like what you guys were saying. This was supposed to be a bigger production.
Yep.
Because there are times in this movie where they mention, oh, he turned into a dog and he's running across the yard, and it's like we don't see it.
Yeah.
We were probably supposed to see
See
it.
something with some
Just a
higher-
dog,
But it's
anything
1931.
like.
Right. Yep. So then we meet Dr. Seward's sanitarium, which
Sanatorium.
the fact that his house is on the premises boggles
real.
My, like, really? And
He just escapes all the time.
yeah, the amount of times Renfield ends up in his parlor or his living room is just
Well, they did say that he there were bars that he moved with his hands.
Right, that he
And they're
did
all
that.
like, oh, let me just put you in a better cell. And I'm like, no one is freaking out about this. I feel like we should be freaking out about
Just
this.
give him
I love
some
his-
spiders.
I love his. I don't know what to call it.
That I didn't understand. I'm like, let him eat the spiders.
Yeah, just
could
let
be
him.
worse.
Yeah.
Here you go.
yeah.
I don't like him anyway.
His handler. What's that guy's name?
Oh, I don't even remember his name.
But he's always like, "Come on, you little fly eater." Like,
Calls him crazy
it's
to his
like
face.
it's almost like a slur. Like, what are you, dude?
I know. I was like, that could never happen today.
No.
You fired so fast.
So yeah, there's a point in the movie where let me find his name real quick. I'm trying to locate it. What is he called? Harbor Master. Nope. What is his? Good Lord. He's probably so far down on here that I can't even find it.
Is Google not Googling?
IMDb's not IMDbing.
Come on, IMDb.
So he tells the nurse they're all crazy. You know, you're crazy sometimes. She goes, yeah,
She kind of gives him this look, and then he kind of walks
and then he walks away from her. It's like this
That's
moment,
great.
This moment of like, oh boy, everyone's losing their minds.
Didn't you write down a quote from somewhere around here?
Did I?
I think you did.
So this is when Dracula goes to the opera, or the whatever.
Symphony.
Yeah.
Oh, I said Dracula got the riz. 'Cause he's just like,
Yeah,
hi guys.
Yeah.
I don't.
He's also a creep.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. He hypnoses the ticket girl. Says go
To make his introduction.
go tell him there's a call
seamless.
for him waiting.
That's very smart.
So she stands up and he introduces himself. So we have Mina, we have Miss Western, we have Harker, and then we have Dr. Seward.
Yeah, because I think it's
Harker.
Miss Western. Maybe she's like obsessed with him. She's like, oh, I want.
And
me
I
some
and I kind
Dracula.
of relate to Mina, where I'm like, he's a little more normal. This guy's a little weird. And I'm like,
She's like,
yeah.
I want to be like the Countess, and like,
Yeah,
It's
she's
like-
she's really motivated to get into it.
And
So
like, Mina's
Harker is a
easier.
tool.
yeah, he's an absolute jerk.
It's like, dude, you got this guy coming on to your fiance.
Right.
Do something about that.
Right.
Go handle your business.
He
You
is-
would never.
Throughout this whole movie, Harker is a wet noodle. And he's an idiot. He's an absolute moron. He's just moronic. I can't get over it. Dracula has some cool lines. He says, "To die, to be really dead, it must be glorious."
Yeah.
And then he says, "There are far worse things awaiting men than death." And I'm just like,
That's a good line.
oh no, what is going on here? And then they're back in the show. Lucy's like, "Oh, it's so fascinating." And I wrote down, "Oh girl."
he got the riz.
He's coming for you.
Yeah,
tonight.
it's game on. So then we've got Lucy. So it's Lucy Western is her name. Lucy is, and she's not. I don't know what she's a friend of Mina.
Yeah.
And so she's staying overnight at her house or something
Yeah.
or whatever. And she goes and opens the window.
Which
and-
I wanted to bring up the
Yeah.
point. Like when I lived in Central Asia and they would turn on the heat. And it's not like here where you can adjust the thermostat. You could not adjust the thermostat. The heat was either on or off. And the heat worked really well. Like too well. So every night I would sleep with my window open.
Oh yeah.
Because it was boiling hot otherwise. And so I had to tell myself that when I saw the window open. Because I'm like, okay, that I
Yeah,
understand.
that's normal.
Yeah. So she opens the window, so she sleeps with the window open.
There's
the
a
bat
bat.
comes inside.
Big old rubber bat on the
I
string.
need you to do the arm flapping thing again.
it's just
Oh,
like-
for video.
So Dracula's here. He's creeping and sneaking.
Very slowly.
And then what's interesting about this movie is the mythology of the fangs is not present.
Yep.
Nope.
They don't even show the biting.
It's probably hard
Nope.
to talk with them.
Yeah.
I imagine. Like, if
Oh,
you ever
yeah.
worn wet those fake fangs, you
Yeah.
can't
So,
really talk.
so yeah, there's no fangs. You
Yep.
don't see him bite anybody.
Yep.
The line that everyone thinks he says, "I want to drink your blood," is not in this movie.
Not in this movie. Nope.
I don't even think it's in the Boris Karloff.
I'll have to research
Well, it's
that.
I
like
think
Star
the-
Wars, where the people misquote it all the time. They say, "Luke, I am your father." That
but
line is on the
no.
film. No,
Yeah.
I am your father. That's the line.
Yep. So
Mandela effect.
Yep, the
Yeah.
Mandela effect is powerful. So another debt. So I think why they don't show the bite is probably because in 1931 that would have been deemed inappropriate or like too much.
Well, because
Scandalous.
Violence.
I said this to Zoe too, because 1931 in this movie he bites a dude,
Yeah.
and that would probably back then was probably like a
It
no.
was considered really scandalous for the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is that. There is a lot of kind of, you have to remember that what they don't show you was intentional on their part to censor the movie or to
But I
not-
think that just makes it even cooler because you're still freaked out
yeah.
and you didn't see anything happen. Whereas like now we have to see all the
Yeah.
gore and all the
Oh, yeah.
whatever.
Sometimes what you don't see is scarier.
Yeah, totally.
So then we get Lucy in the autopsy area
With dead two marks.
with dead two marks.
Which I thought was interesting because if I remember correctly from the novel, Lucy takes some time to die. It's not like a quick
Like
thing,
an
like it is.
instant.
Yeah, it's more like Mina's journey,
right.
where it takes some time.
Yep. So
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is this the first scene with the cardboard?
I do not. I missed the cardboard piece.
Cardboard.
Dude,
Okay.
it was almost every time he was biting a girl, you could see.
So it's in Mina's room for sure.
Yeah.
There's a certain lamp in this movie. If you look at it, there's a piece of cardboard taped to it. And AVGN, James Rolfe, he's made a whole video about this piece of cardboard.
Literally.
Like, because it's like, why is it there? Like, is it a movie mistake? Was it there to like
Lighting
fix
effect?
the lighting because you wanted more shadows? Like,
Right.
what's up with this piece of cardboard? But it is in multiple scenes.
Yeah, we thought it was just in one, but it was multiple.
Yeah, and it looks like different pieces of cardboard
Yes,
sometimes.
like it's almost been
Like
moved
they move it.
different ways.
Interesting.
Yeah, so next time you watch it, look out for all the lamps.
I
There's
will put-
definitely one with
Interesting.
cardboard.
So for our listeners out there, if you're interested, watch Dracula 1931. Look out for the cardboard. See what you
On the
think.
lamps, yes.
On the lamps. So then reintroduction to Renfield. I love the masterful opening. Yeah, I loved it. The masterful opening, and a swinging camera shot. And we get his obviously.
I like the caption,
so-
deranged laughter is what
Yeah.
it says.
Yeah, I would not have known that was laughter without the captions.
Yeah,
I just thought this dude was like, I don't know, but it didn't sound like
Coughing weird
laughter
or something.
I like just lost his mind.
yeah,
He just wants his fat, juicy spider. Okay.
yeah. And this is where we
Give
get
me
the
my
His
small lives,
thousands
my
of
little
reps.
lives. What is it? Small lives, little lives,
little lives.
little lives.
Yeah.
Eh,
So
alliteration.
we find out that the little lives is ants and whatever he can get his hands on, and that's what he's been doing.
You know, pests.
Yeah. So
Well, now
they-
he's moved on to spiders.
yeah, now he's on spiders.
Because who would want to fly? You have more, you
Right.
know,
With a
more
big
with the.
juicy
And he
spider.
says that he's like, flies.
Right.
Just
So-
give him.
Yeah, just give it to him. Let him have it.
Honestly,
then maybe
it's
he
like,
wouldn't
it's like
break out.
Twilight again, where they're eating animals. Like, but these are household pests.
That's funny.
No one wants around.
Yep.
Spiders
But
have their purpose.
They
though.
still
They
don't.
do.
They still don't want him to. They still don't want to do it. And then we get Van Helsing's introduction. 41 minutes into the movie, the main.
Yeah, it's almost
Ewan.
over.
Yeah, the main.
The movie is an hour and 14 minutes.
Yeah, the main protagonist or one of the main protagonists in the Dracula story doesn't show up until 40 minutes into the movie. But it is a brilliant characterization
Oh,
of Van
yeah.
Helsing. I absolutely love it. He does so much with what he has.
Not afraid of anything.
Yeah.
There was one moment, and I know it couldn't have been because anyways. But he looked like a young, like Anthony Hopkins or something. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, he plays that character really well. His name was Edward von Sloan.
Okay.
Was the actor's name. And yeah,
And he was in the original play too.
yes.
And I believe he went on to do Frankenstein after.
He was in The Mummy. He was in Dracula's. Yeah, he actually played Van Helsing in Dracula's Daughter. He played Dr. Waldman in Frankenstein. I'm trying to look through what else he had done. He played in a bunch of movies: Mission to Moscow, Raiders of the Rio Grande, The Song of Bernadette. He was actually in Captain America in 1944. So there you go.
Whoa.
He plays a doctor a lot. But yeah, he
has it down for sure.
Yeah, he was in his filmography is incredible. He started his first movie was in 1916.
Wow.
His second movie was Dracula in 1931.
Whoa.
And that's when he starts to really take off.
Interesting.
He was in Dracula.
That's
He
cool.
was in Frankenstein. He was in a bunch of movies, all 1933, 33, 34, 34, 35, 35. Like, this guy had a filmography. He was a well-known actor. He died in 1964 at the age of 81.
What?
So he
Nice long life.
had a long, full life of acting. He was a U.S. character actor, and so he was most memorable as the nemesis of evildoers and monsters in the 30s and 40s. So, yeah, there you go. There's your story on Edward von Sloan. And it was him, Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi, and him and one other person, which might have been Renfield, were in the stage production, and then they were the only three actors that came into the movie because of it. So, Van Helsing, the superstition of yesterday can become the scientific reality of today.
Ooh, that's a good
I
line.
love that line. It was just like, oh.
He has another one where he says something like he studies things that are lesser known to. I'm not good with quotes, but
Yeah.
that one. If you watch the movie, you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
He said, but yeah, he's like lesser known things that people would rather not know about or something is what he studies.
Yep. What I like about this is that as we get to meet them eventually here shortly, in other movies with Dracula, Van Helsing is known to Dracula.
Yeah.
In this movie, he's not known. He doesn't know.
Well, no, he says he's heard his name all throughout the wilds of Transylvania.
right.
Maybe he's heard of him, but he hasn't met him.
But he doesn't know what he's up to or what he's
Right.
doing.
Or what he can do.
You are infamously
Exactly.
me. He doesn't
So
say that.
bad dreams with a wolf call. So this is
Mina, I think.
Yeah, Mina. So Dracula is here.
Oh, is this when she's explaining like what happened to her, like her dream that she's having?
Yeah, she's having a bad dream with a wolf. But then he shows up. And Wolf's
And her boyfriend, man.
But I feel like this is another classic one where she has like the scarf over
Her neck.
yeah, so
her
the-
neck
so
and,
we,
like-
he
understand
He
that.
bites her.
We'll leave it at that.
Renfield says he doesn't want to do it, but Dracula tells him it's going to happen. Like, he's communicating with him. We're doing it. It's happening. So he bites her, and so the next morning she's covering her neck, and Van Helsing is
Terrible fiance.
Yeah, just
Oh,
I just
yeah.
gotta keep pointing that out.
Yeah,
How- you let this happen.
yeah. Well, and he
And
doesn't.
he keeps letting it happen.
yeah, and he's
He doesn't learn from his mistakes.
No.
And her dad too. Like,
I like Dad better. I feel like
yeah,
he's more
I do
sensible.
like dad a lot better. But like, there's one time where like the fiance's like telling her dad like, "I'm taking her out of here." Blah blah blah. I'm like, you're talking to her father, bro. Like,
Right.
You would never have done that.
no.
So what is cool is that Van Helsing says, "What is with the neck? What's with the neck?" She's like, "No." She's like, and he takes it, and there's the puncture things, and he begins to ask questions, and then he says, "What could have caused them?" And right exactly, with not even a pause, Count Dracula. What? And
they're
it's
announcing
he's
his presence.
he's
That was
announced-
clever.
and I was just like, "That
That
is
was great.
brilliant."
I'm here.
He's like, "It's like, who dat?"
I
Good to see you again.
one thing that I really like about this scene too, because you have Dracula in there, you have Van Helsing, and also Mina's father.
Yeah.
I forget which one. It's either Van Helsing or Mina's father. They're standing next to Dracula.
Yeah.
And
It's actually the freaking fiance and Van Helsing are looking at
Mr. Wet Noodle.
Yeah.
at the mirror.
well, okay.
I thought that's what you were talking about. I'm sorry.
No, I'm talking
That's what I
about
thought too. I thought it was a mirror. I was ready for it.
guys standing next to Dracula, whichever one it was.
Yeah.
Van Helsing or the father. He towers over Bela Lugosi.
Oh, okay.
And it makes Dracula look like a little
Yeah.
child.
It's her dad then, because he's really tall.
Yeah. Seward. It's probably Seward.
I was like, that probably wasn't a good shot choice.
Well, and Lugosi was tall on his own. Lugosi was a tall.
Makes me wonder how tall the father was.
Right.
So
like, it just made Dracula appear less menacing, I think.
But the mirror thing is like another reason, like the fiance is just like
An idiot.
not there.
Yeah.
I love how he says
Want to
something.
see how tall he is now.
I,
Let's see if we can
I
find
love
out.
how he uses the line. He says, "Oh, she's probably heard grim tales of my far off country." I didn't know if it was
why-
intentional or not, but the Grimm brothers and the Grimm fairy tales.
Oh, nice.
I didn't know if that was intentional, but I was like, I see what you're doing there. And then we have the mirror, and this is when Van Helsing figures it out, because he looks, and I love how this happens because they probably had to shoot the scene twice.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Because they had to have the lines with Van Helsing, and then they had the scene where he was showing the mirror without him. But heavy signaling here, and they do it a lot in these in the span of the scene. So they're really trying to tell you there's something wrong here.
Yeah, because Van Helsing calls the dude over. He's like, hey, check this out. Like,
Right,
what's going on?
right. And fiance is an idiot continually.
my gosh.
Doesn't seem to get it. Interesting note: if you go back and you look at the scene with the mirror. And the mirror shows the floor. There are chalk marks where Brady was supposed to stand. So they
You have to stand here.
you have to stand here. So they knew who was supposed to stand where to do whatever.
I love this movie for, if anything, but those little details.
Right, because they definitely give you the sign that they were working really hard to make this good. Like they were trying to
Yeah.
do really well.
Well,
So
it also like gives you a little glimpse behind early movie
yeah,
production, and
how they pulled it off.
Yeah.
How they made these things work. A lot of work went into it. And then, so this happens for a while, and then Dracula figures out what's going on.
Well, Van Helsing also calls him out, and I'm like, are you dumb?
Oh, I wondered. I was thinking the same thing.
I think partially because we and you said it earlier, Van Helsing fears nobody.
Apparently.
And so I think he feels...
I am going to find you and kill you tomorrow night. I feel like that's almost what he could be saying.
Right. Well, and he basically is like, he wants to let Dracula know, I know your secret, and I'm going to tell all these people. So guess what? And so that's when he slaps it out of his hand. And he says, "You are a wise man, Van Helsing." And then he leaves, and then we hear, and then the
that's when they mentioned like the dog running across
and then
the lawn.
Van Helsing says, "Or a wolf, perhaps."
Another dumb moment, though. All these men
Yeah.
just standing there talking about Dracula.
Not
And-
watching Mina, who
and
sneaks
Mina
out.
is literally going outside to meet Dracula.
Yep. And so she's
You
gone.
had one job.
Yep.
One job. There was like 4 of them.
Yeah. They're absolute idiots.
Just leave your
Mina,
fiance
stop.
at this point.
Right.
For
Yeah.
real.
Break up with him.
Right. This is terrible. I said she's walking out to see him. Oh, good. This will end well.
And now I
Look
can't remember
into
how
my
they
eyes.
even knew she was out there. Because they do go get her.
So they do.
Well, she screams.
she screams.
Okay.
And
oh,
then
she's not in her
as
bedroom.
she's out there, Renfield, he's talking to the nurse, and she.
I have my fact.
Okay.
Okay, so when we watched this, we thought that maybe Renfield, because the nurse, I think, faints.
Yep.
And we see him lean over her, and you and I were like, "Oh my gosh, is he like gonna
Biker.
bite her?" So I was. This is where I started laughing. So apparently, they cut it from the film, but she had a fly on her. He was going for the fly.
Of course.
Dang.
So there's also an element within this movie where that scene they were considering cutting it or revising it because the original of how they looked like there was some kind of possible inappropriate sexual
Yeah,
something.
I got
gonna
that
happen.
vibe.
Yeah, and so they were like worried about like.
That was the thing with the novel originally, like because it was written during the Victorian era, and people were just like, "Oh my gosh."
Well, you kind of can get that vibe for any bite in this movie.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because they cut the bite away. You don't technically know what's going on.
Well, and so part of the thing here is that in later Dracula movies, they really amp up
Oh, yeah.
the romantic relational dynamic between Dracula and his female victims to a point where it just becomes what I feel like is just like, okay, look, this is enough. This is almost
Dracula has the riz, man.
I'm telling you, I saw a ballet Dracula, and it was amazing.
yeah.
It was great.
I think it's become overplayed where it just become blah. I don't like it anymore. Whatever.
So you're probably with Phil on like not liking Twilight.
Yeah, no. Sorry.
Well, I don't really know any guy who does
dude.
though. Do you know any
That's
guys who like
fair.
the film?
No,
So-
not really.
H3 went back and started watching Twilight movies because
Okay.
they'd never seen them.
Yeah.
And they're like pointing out how much of a creep Edward actually is.
He is. No, he's
Yeah, I like Team Jacob over here.
he's super toxic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
He's
a,
gross.
It's a hot mess. It's a hot mess of him.
Sorry, not sorry, people who are Team Edward. We're not.
Yeah,
And
no.
that was a big deal back then.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
huge.
You whatever team you were on.
You did not. It wasn't. It was like with the boy bands and Secret Backstreet.
Literally.
you didn't have both. It
No.
can't be both.
Yep,
Nope.
that was not how it worked. So then we cut to a child crying, and
Or we
this
hear
is
it,
we
right?
hear
Or do
yeah
see
we
it?
hear it crying, and then we find out Lucy, who had died, is back from the dead and is
And-
feeding
and
on
of
children.
Have
So-
some chocolates for you.
Yeah, so
She has a voice that was probably nicer than that.
yeah, so that's what the newspaper says is that this woman promising chocolates to children.
Come to this dark corner.
she's taking their blood.
These
Yeah.
little girls.
Yeah, it's
Just
it's
feed
dark,
on the rats, like
right? But
Why
Lucy,
can't you be crazy like Renfield and go
Yeah.
for the rats?
Well, Lucy has different rules in her undead state.
Yeah, she does.
Renfield tries because here's the thing. Renfield lies to Dracula several times.
Yeah.
Because
Renfield
he,
is,
for some reason, really is into Mina and wants to protect her.
right, and he's also just
Crazy.
he's nuts.
Well, yeah, he tells them multiple times to get Mina out of here.
Yeah, and then he's oh no, I didn't tell her anything, Dracula. I didn't tell her anything. Come on."
I like how he looks at Van Helsing. They already know he knows who
Right.
Dracula is.
Right.
But he's like, Count Dracula, never heard of him.
Right,
I love that.
Hey, dude.
but he's
Your secrets.
shaking
You're
because he
busted.
knows he's in trouble. He's like,
Like-
Count Dracula. I never heard of the man.
Whatever,
Like,
dude.
okay, dude.
Renfield, by far, my favorite character.
He
in
really
this whole-
is the best.
whole
he,
movie.
he is bonkers. So then we've got the fiance and both fiancés, and she says, "You must never touch me or kiss me again. It's over. Our love is over."
But at
It's
the same
done."
time, she's like hinting that she wants to kiss him.
I think that's later, actually.
This later. So
Okay, yeah.
So this is where she's like,
When
I
they're
think
like
she
on the
knows
bench.
that she's turning and
Yeah.
she's trying to
yeah.
save him.
And so what's interesting is that she asked Van Helsing to explain, but he won't explain. It's even too much
He
for
just
him.
walks away.
He
Oh, and
walks
she has
away.
the most interesting line because he gets this crucifix out. I think it's at this part. Or maybe
Yes.
it's later, and she
No, no, no.
talks about.
So yeah, this comes later.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that's when they're on the bench.
Okay, I'll have to bring it up then because I think what she says is super interesting.
So the other thing is that so we often see Dracula, Bela Lugosi, his hand comes out of the top, and then the camera changes to then show him outside. And the reason for that is obviously we're not going to show him like lumbering out of
Crawling
the
out.
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
But so what the idea obviously behind that is that if they could have, they would have had the hand come out and then like some fog or something
Yeah.
come. If they had the special effects at the time to make that look solid, they would have done it, but they didn't.
That tells me there were two actors there, one in the coffin and then Lugosi around the corner.
So what they did is they panned it around and Lugosi jumped stood up quickly and then they panned back and he
I think it would have been easier with two actors.
But it was the Great Depression.
Yeah,
They probably saved money by only.
using
And
the one.
Lugosi didn't do this for a lot of money, guys. He got $500 a week.
Yeah. He didn't. He
Did
didn't
I
7 weeks of
imagine it
filming.
didn't? How long?
7 weeks of filming.
I was going to say I would have thought less than that.
So the thing is that Bela Lugosi for most of his career struggled to get top billing in the movies that he starred in, and it was a consistent issue, definitely opposite Boris Karloff and others, where he didn't get paid as much as they did, which was a sticking point later in life, obviously because he ran out of money and had to make some cheap movies to get some money and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So there's a lot to unpack there historically wise within Hollywood. Unfortunately, Bela Lugosi got the short end of that stick a lot, but he is again. His Dracula is the one we reference
It's iconic.
with every Halloween, every movie is made. It always comes back to how Bela Lugosi portrayed him both on stage and in movie.
Well, he was the first one to give him a voice.
Yes, and that voice is
We imitate it to this day.
yeah,
Well, I feel like it's gotten like a lot deeper now.
yeah.
Because he did the Dracula voice, of course, but it was like not as over the top as
Yeah.
people impersonate it as now. Like,
Well,
I
you know.
want to drink your blood. Like he does not talk like that. Like it's
He's
very,
actually from Hungary, I think, and so
Yeah.
I think his
Yeah.
accent's authentic. It's like when people try to do an accent, it's super put on.
Yeah.
It is. So I was like, how does Renfield keep getting loose at this point? Because he is breaking loose. It just is.
He breaks bars with his bare hands.
And then they just call the hospital, like, can you come get him?
And they're like, yeah, I'm about to put you in a straitjacket. He should already be in a straitjacket. Hello.
Yeah.
Who's in charge of this ward? I want to talk to your manager.
Yep. So Dracula returns, and he uses his hand of power, the Force, if you will. Oh, Phil, you're going to be okay. And he tries to use it on Van Helsing. And for a moment,
He starts.
This scene,
This
took
scene is the
forever.
cringiest, though, I think.
I thought it was brilliant.
Just because he's, like, trying to, like, pull back from the force.
You see the sweat and the effort. I thought it was cool.
I don't know. That one was worse for me.
wow, okay. Differing opinions on one scene. I love it.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool because
Perspectives.
you could see Van Helsing fighting it.
I thought that was awesome.
But it was just so
It's like
quiet.
someone can resist Dracula.
Well,
Yeah, that's true.
so you see him doing it to Van Helsing, and for a moment, it's like Van Helsing's just looking at him like, "What are you doing?
Right.
Why are you doing that?" And then like it cuts back and forth between them a
Yeah.
few times, and then it cuts back to Van Helsing, and then he's like, "Oh, like
Yeah.
trying to escape." But those first couple times where it showed Van Helsing, the look on his face to me was like, "What are you doing,
Yeah.
dude? Like,
What's
what are you pointing at?"
So then he fights it, and Dracula says, "Your will is strong."
Yeah.
And we get the idea that Van Helsing is a very strong man.
all the wolfsbane?
Yeah.
All the wolves.
Yeah.
He had so much.
Yeah. So then, does Dracula leave at this point?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he goes.
I mean, he'll come back.
he goes away, and
Coming
then
through the windows window later.
and then Mina is a changed girl. She's happy-go-lucky, and I love
Yeah, I
She looked
love
better
the
than
night
ever.
now.
Yeah, I love the night.
I would never say I was scared of the night. And
He's like, you did that yesterday. She's like, I love the night. I love nights with fog. I love it all. It's like,
and the look that she gets in her eyes when she's talking to him.
Yeah.
Like that
I
hungry.
I just wrote John is an idiot. He's an absolute idiot.
At this point, if I think I was starting to say stuff. I was sick of him.
Yeah.
I love when she's like responding to the bat, and he's like, "You will what?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?"
I didn't
He's
say
not-
anything.
He's not.
Yes, you did. No, I didn't.
He's not paying attention. He's so oblivious.
Is he just really that self-absorbed? Do you think that's what his deal is?
I think he's desperate to have Mina for the marriage to work out. He wanted to like that for him, and this is an opinion, that he's so desperate for this marriage to work out. The fact that he's an idiot probably means that his previous relationships have not worked out so well. And it's not that Mina's an idiot or stupid,
No, she's rich.
that she's rich and she's got money. And so
she's beautiful and she's rich.
John is like, okay, I've got it. I need to hold on to it. I can't let and until Dracula shows up, he was in free and clear. It was happening. They were going to get married and whatever. But then Dracula shows up and messes up his whole plan. And so he's desperate to get her back and desperate to have.
I think this is the part where the crucifix comes up.
Yep.
Yeah.
So she says, you know that doctor, he has a crucifix. You need to take it away from him. I just can't handle it. Take it out of his pocket. Blah, 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 blah.
But then she says this line about how it's like it makes her see what she's become and she's ashamed of herself.
Yeah.
She says that line. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, she's kind of having that duality of her identities kind of fading in and out.
And I thought, is that why vampires don't like crosses? Is there like a sense of shame?
Maybe, if you were to
I thought
dig
that
in.
was really interesting.
Also, that's just because the cross is the representation of Christ, and in 1931, the power of an exorcism, and
The power of
And
Christ
if you think
compels.
about it, it's like it wasn't really her choice to
Yeah.
get bit
It's
either.
all
So of
against her
course
will.
there would be shame because you're
Forced
like,
to drink Dracula's blood,
Yeah.
too. Whoa.
right, yeah,
And
'cause-
then we get a random gunshot.
right, and
We never saw a gun.
I
this
know.
whole
He's
entire time
trying
in
to
the movie.
shoot the bat.
And they're
He's like,
like-
oh, the bullets won't work on the bat.
And he's-
Y'all are crazy. I'm still going to shoot the bat.
so he says they're all crazy except me and you.
Oh, and
you're-
then she just gives him this look.
and no,
Love
no,
this
and then,
part.
and then he says, "Oh, and you're kind of crazy. You're kind of crazy sometimes." She says, "Yeah," and he just kind of looks at her and starts walking and starts running away. Like he's the
And
only one who
First
has,
smart man in the movie. Run away from the crazy people.
And we never see them again.
Yeah, those two are never back.
The
They're done.
end.
They're gone. So then Dracula's power. He comes and takes Mina again, I believe.
I think I looked at the time
Yeah,
left on the movie at this point. It's 10 minutes.
yeah. It moves fast.
This last 10 minutes is like,
Everything happens.
but at the same time, it's very anticlimactic in my opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little different than what we're used to. So Renfield is at the Abbey, and him and Dracula have a standoff.
On
And
the stairs.
and Dracula throws him down the stairs, and then he just
can't.
falls.
It was so like there's like no sound at this point.
Yeah.
So I was watching it. I was making the sound effects. I was like, ooh, ouch, ah, ooh, oh, I'm dead.
So yeah, they throws him down the stairs. Renfield's dead. And then
Not really though.
I'm just like, if you didn't have that scene, honestly, they probably could have gotten away.
Wait, did Renfield die?
Yeah, he came back. We didn't
Yeah,
see
yeah.
him.
Oh,
come
so
back.
I was joking when I said
Yeah, no, he did. He did. He done
He did
done.
it, he did.
Yeah,
you
dead
got me.
Yeah, he's a dead man. So yeah, so and part of I think what they talk about is the reason why. So they only have Dracula taking the blood of women because they were concerned about what the imagery would be if a Dracula would to take blood from a guy, and there was concerns obviously 1931 how you portrayed relationships between two males, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
So that's just a small piece of the 1931 puzzle that we're talking about, and so that was part of why Renfield didn't get his blood drank or whatever.
That was one of my assumptions also.
Yeah.
But like Dracula does lean over him at the.
Yeah.
So it's implied that he bites him.
Right, but it's not shown.
Yeah,
And
definitely
it's,
not.
It's definitely like soft pedaled, kind of like whatever. So then the fiance and Van Helsing break into the place, and you notice when they hit that door, it's moving.
Yeah.
So it's clearly they're play acting. They're breaking into it eventually, and so that door probably wasn't secured. They just like, oh, it's not up. Oh, now it's boom, we're in. It's just like-
Dracula forgot to lock the door.
Right.
Uh-oh.
So what's interesting about
He's
this?
just laying in a car.
Yeah. So because the morning has come, and so he can't be up during the
Yeah,
daylight.
and you can tell by the lighting, it looks so
Yeah.
cool, like that it's coming.
It's the light. So he has to save himself. Dracula has to hide in the coffin, and I think Dracula's theory is that they won't come looking for me in these boxes. I'll be fine. Well, he's not fine.
It's Van Helsing. He knows everything.
Yeah, Van Helsing.
Yeah, he knows about the boxes of dirt.
Yep. So in the book, it's like 100 boxes of dirt.
Like 50.
In the movie, it's just 3.
Yeah.
So Van Helsing goes. He opens up. He finds Dracula. He opens up the other one, but Mina's not there
Yet.
And so he's like This is where the fiance continues to be an idiot. He leaves Van Helsing alone and says, "Ah, Mina, where are you?" Ah. And so Van Helsing, scared of nothing, says, "Find me a stone or find me something so I can drive a stake."
Oh, just be useful.
Be
Come
yeah,
on.
yeah.
Give me a rock.
Basically, yeah.
Go get the board stretcher.
Yeah, right. So then Professor Van Helsing breaks apart, I think, the cover of the coffin to
Just
get the wood.
ingenious.
Right. So he breaks it, and then he brings him a stone, and then Dracula is killed off screen. We don't see the
You just
actual.
hear
Yeah.
That groan was originally taken out,
Oh, yeah. I remember reading that
but
too.
then they added it back in. And
Yeah.
then I thought this was interesting. So that there's been an evolution of how to kill Dracula. Like in the book, he was killed by a knife. In the Nosferatu, he was killed by
sunlight.
morning light,
by morning light,
which
yeah.
was not in any film or book before that film, and now
Yep.
it's like a thing with vampires and light. So this is the first time it's like being stabbed with a stake.
Yep.
But in the play, it was stabbed through the heart, and later with a wooden stake. And then this movie, it's just the stake through the heart.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So then the movie ends. That's it.
Oh, and then he's like, "Oh, I'll be back in a second." So originally there was like an epilogue,
Yes,
as Van
there was.
Helsing said, but they cut it because they thought it would be
And
offensive.
it's never been recovered.
Yep.
So they cut it. The movie originally ended like that, but they end up having Van Helsing give like a summary, like, "Oh, here's what happened, and here's what you've watched, and here's how the story ends."
And they cut a scene apparently where Van Helsing also killed Lucy.
Yeah. Oh no, it was written, but they never filmed it.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
So they're gonna kill her, but they didn't put that in there. So yeah, it's a very fast 10 minutes. Everything happens. And I think the thing for us is we're so used to seeing
Like a big fight scene.
right.
and
We're used to seeing the
standoffs.
right, and the big ending, and there we go, pull out the stops.
Yeah, it's like at the end of a video game too. That's
Yeah.
when you face off.
You fully expect it to happen, and here it just doesn't.
Nope.
Yeah. Although this ending credit scene inspired the movie I Am Legend.
What?
Yeah, because the guy was like, "What if everyone was
Like
vampires?"
what if everybody was vampires if just one is so dangerous?
Now it's alleged. It's alleged to say that he said this or that he he thought this up. Like that was his reason for writing it. Because in the notes it says allegedly. Like,
No, we don't really
and
know for sure.
well, I mean, he said it, but they're just like, okay, do we really believe that that's what? Because if you've ever seen I Am Legend, it's a little bit of a rough one. It's not my favorite Will Smith movie.
I just like when he's talking to the little mannequins,
Yeah,
like his friends.
yeah. He's got, there's some plot holes in I Am Legend.
Fred, what are you doing in the middle of the street?
You gotta move, friend.
So there you go. That was Dracula 1931. Interesting note. So one of my favorite movies that is definitely not in the top 10 of any lists is actually the movie with Hugh Jackman in Van Helsing.
Yeah, you have it on DVD. I was
Like,
surprised actually. To see
Which one?
Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman.
Oh,
There's
that
only
doesn't
one.
help me. Like,
Where,
what?
does
What's
he got
the
the
year?
crossbow?
Yeah, Kate Beckinsale is in it with him.
My favorite
Yes.
too. I love Van Helsing.
And the music, the music
Yes.
on that. There's the Transylvanian roads like dun 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 dun.
There's
Because it actually made me want to watch it after I watched
Yeah.
this.
there's actually an awesome video game
Oh really?
for that movie.
Okay.
Yeah, it plays like Devil May Cry. It's like a hack and slash.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
So
crazy.
the reason Van Helsing I love because it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's definitely the wackiest, weirdest kind of movie that whatever. It has a lot of fun. His Igor, his helper Igor is absolutely hilarious.
Yes.
You guys, I have a request for the next movie. I don't know why. I'm just in the mood for this movie now.
Okay.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh God, no.
Why?
Oh, it's so terrible.
You hate it?
It's awful.
It's Sean Connery.
Yes, but it's awful. It killed a franchise. It was that bad. They were planning on a sequel and possibly like a couple of movies. That movie destroyed it.
Maybe it's because I loved it as a kid. Because it's another one of those things
Yeah.
where it's a mashup.
So okay. Well, we'll talk about that because we wanted to pad the time.
So we're not going to watch the
I haven't
movie.
given up on Young
We'll just
Frankenstein.
talk
I have
about it
ordered
now.
it.
It's we'll still find a way to do Young Frankenstein. So League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is a combination of everybody. It's Captain Nemo. It's all these guys.
Jekyll and Hyde.
Dorian Gray is in there somewhere. All the kinds
Invisible Man.
Invisible Man. All these characters are in there. And there's Quartermain is Sean Connery's character, and the idea
And Tom Sawyer.
Tom Sawyer of all people. So it's basically the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. It's basically like the Avengers before the Avengers were Avengers.
Yeah.
And it's the captain of the Nautilus or whatever, Captain Nemo, and it's a unique story. And the premise when the trailer came out, I remember going, "Oh, that looks cool. I like this. They can't mess this up, can they?" Oh, yes, they can. And they did. It's just so tonally off. It's wacky, and it's just.
That's probably why I liked it a lot. As
Yeah,
a kid,
and
'cause
I mean,
it's just
I'm
full on action.
I'm happy to do it. Just be prepared for me to be unrelenting in my criticism. And I'll be positive in some parts, but I'm going to be. Because here's the thing. We could have gotten an incredible sequel, an incredible series of movies. But because of how badly the movie did and was reviewed by both critics and fans alike, it killed the franchise. And I think it hurt Sean Connery's career at the time. And he was mad. Like, he was very upset that the movie was that bad.
I think I've seen it.
Well,
I haven't either.
interesting.
So here's another thing. So there's an interesting, I think it's an Amazon. I'm not sure what network or platform it's on.
It
but
says Hulu, but
they're doing a Nautilus, a show called Nautilus. And it's the idea behind the Captain Nemo story, and
Which isn't that just 20,000 Leagues Under the
it's
Sea?
20 yeah. Okay, so here's the thing though. What I watched it. They're not. It's no longer Captain Nemo as the captain. He's a criminal who steals the ship, and yeah. So I was just like, "Are you really like? Come on!" Like I think there's the thing is it's like. There's this idea, and we've talked about this, where they have to take these ideas and be like, okay, how can we change the story and swerve it and make it edgy and it's like you don't need to make 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea edgy. You just need to make it good, and you don't need
It's
to
already
take
good as it is.
Yeah, and so the idea behind the movie is that Nemo steals the Nautilus with a bunch of other ne'er-do-wells, and that's what happens, and he's on the run. So. Yeah, Nautilus is not on my list of things that I'm going to be. I mean, I'll probably hate watch it maybe, or angry watch it. So there you go.
All right, so no League. What?
Here's the thing, Phil. We will do it if you want. I am happy to do it. I have
it's-
no problems.
It's like
Because
You brought up a movie that I really, really hate, Pink Panther. We're not going to do Pink Panther because I
Thank
really
you, Phil.
hate
I
that.
appreciate that.
I appreciate
So
it.
we will not do League.
All of you communists. All three of you.
I like the cartoon. I'm sorry. Like,
What?
I
That's
can't-
an entirely different
I'm with
subject.
No, it's
Dunno.
not.
He watches
Dunno.
it all the
Dunno.
time.
It's like the perfect thing to fall asleep to. There's no
No.
dialogue.
Not the music. No.
Dunno.
I love that theme song.
Dun,
My
On a
mom
good note,
sings it.
Aaron, we can watch Van Helsing on Netflix.
Oh, well, there we go.
What if we did that?
You want to do Van Helsing?
I love that movie. I will
Yes.
go home and watch it tonight. Honestly,
Okay, so we'll put Van Helsing on the list.
I used to even fall asleep. Like I was obsessed,
It's a good movie. So Kate Beckinsale is a fantastic actress.
and I love it. Oh,
And I've
his
never actually
wives.
seen it.
Well, this is before Hugh Jackman was a big star. Like this is kind of in his early period where he wasn't the big.
It's like 2004.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
early
I
Hugh
think
Jackman.
I think it was after the first X-Men though.
Okay, so he's just
Maybe.
starting.
I don't remember that because I don't.
Yeah, same.
So there you go, Van Helsing. We'll watch Van Helsing next week.
Are we gonna rate Dracula?
Oh yeah, yes, we're gonna do that. Aren't we?
Oh wow!
I'm gonna give it a 9.0. It's solid.
That's so nice of you.
It's solid. If you have to think about it from the 1931 perspective and just how crazy and revolutionary this would have been to people in the viewing
how
audience,
influential still today.
and just how much it kicked off a 10-15 year bonanza of monster movies in the Universal Studios mode. It was a clearinghouse, and it founded the monster movie fandom and produced some of the greatest monster movies of all time, and it created the horror genre. It created the monster genre where we all have found movies. You talked about like the Chainsaw Massacre, like movies that would not have existed had it
Really?
not been for this kind of feature and this kind of genre.
is the grandfather of horror.
I would say
Basically.
it's the father. It's the absolute.
Yeah.
It starts here and it has continued on.
The patriarch? No.
Just the father. We'll just say
The
the father.
father, okay.
Because it's a fantastic little movie. So I would say 9.0. Obviously, like there's a couple things I'm just like, but that's quibbling. So 9.0 on the Richter scale there. Okay. Who else wants to rate this one?
Well, I will go. Yes to everything you said.
Yes.
Also, no, not in 2024. Because I remember this is my first time seeing it.
Yes, but
But
no.
also no.
Like, you got to give the movie its flowers. Like it
Right.
earned those
Yeah.
back then.
Right.
You watch it today without any context whatsoever.
Right.
The
Like,
movie's
why is it
bad.
moving that slowly?
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
like in the context of today, I would give it like a 6.
Yeah. That's fair.
But it deserves all the praises you gave it.
Yeah.
Just in 2024 with no context,
Right.
it's a bad movie.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair.
6.5, 7.
Okay.
Slightly more because I think I think it's funny sometimes.
Oh, I laughed all the way through it. But I'm like, this isn't a comedy. I'm not supposed to be laughing.
Right.
Well, there always has to be some humor though in horror.
Yeah.
Like
Break-
there always
some
is.
break in there. That's what Renfield's position is. He
Yeah.
is the comedy.
I agree with Aaron. A 9, classic movie. Like there would be no vampires or anything without it. Like, and come on, he's beautiful with those eyes, even in black and white.
If
Like,
you look at Bela Lugosi, not even in 1931, he was a good-looking gentleman.
Yes.
If you look at older photos of him,
See, I think it's so interesting because I kind of look at him and I'm like, I don't see what the appeal is.
I'd be like,
It's
you can
a
look
Lucy-
into my
this
eyes
is-
all
It's a Lucy Mina situation. You're like, ooh, the count, and I'm like, oh,
He's got
no.
the
so
Riz.
Phil, if vampires ever become a reality, Zoe's gone. Like just
And I'm
leave
like,
her
I'm walking
behind.
the windows. Give me all the garlic. I love garlic.
You can come live with us. We'll secure the
I'll
house.
be like, what's his name? Hacker.
yeah, Harker.
Whatever his name. Name I can't say on the show.
Yes, please don't.
Okay. I'm like lost, but it's
too.
fine.
Yeah, whatever.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
Okay.
So there you go. So next week it will be Van Helsing. We will continue.
Cool.
It'll be our last kind of Halloween movie because we'll be moving into November after that. We'll also put on on the burner for next week's opener your top like Halloween horror movies.
Like top what?
Scary,
Like top 5, like top.
whatever number you want to come up with. Like,
Are you no?
okay.
We have to maybe give Zoe some limits.
10.
I'm getting County Gamers flashbacks where Aaron shows up with a list.
List
of
Like
40.
100 or something.
no,
I
it
like
was-
the Christmas
It was.
moves.
He's like, I got 42, but I've narrowed it down to like 38.
I will
sir.
You're like, sheesh, Aaron.
I will freely admit that was me, because I did. It was 2 pages full. I was like, I can't choose. So yeah,
Such a good episode. Go watch that one.
it's fantastic. So we'll do that next week.
That was actually first episode Zoe was ever on
yeah, it's true.
the program.
Oh yeah, that was.
Where it all began. So yeah, we'll do that next week. So if you're listening, you might want to think about making your list of 10. It can be horror, scary, Halloween, frightening movie, whatever movie that just scares the pants off you.
Does Jurassic Park count?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it can be scary.
It is scary.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So be thinking about that, and then you can compare your list with ours when the episode drops next week. Until next time, my name is Aaron,
I'm Phil.
I'm Vicki.
And I'm Zoe.
and this has been Nerds by Screenlight. Take your vitamins, say your prayers, eat your vegetables, and
And
Have
maybe
some
close
garlic.
your windows at night.
close your windows at night.
Don't
If you see a bat, don't let it in.
Oh yeah.
don't forget to turn off your closet light.
Yeah, and do your homework.
You've left it on for 3 days. Your power bill's going insane.
I think you're talking to yourself a little bit.
No.
What?
Not.
Anyways.
How dare you? And on that note,
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Can't get enough of this. Being with you is like never-ending sunshine. Feels like everything stops for a while when we look into each other's eyes. How could I ever let you go now when you're looking like that? Can't get enough of this. Being with you is a never-ending sunshine.
The raspberry flap of ours will be out in a moment. The kitchen is closed.